we may have finally gotten our answer to the eternal question. Hitchcockian Batfleck. Star Wars character name or the tone for the next Batman movie? I'm Joe Starr, and this is Screen Junkies News. Trick question, it's both. Hitchcockian Batman is a Sith Lord on Korriban. Guys, the long-delayed and troubled The Batman has finally been getting some steam in recent days. We know now that Batfleck will officially return, and we may have just received our first hint at what the film's tone will be. Director Matt Reeves told New Trailer Buzz, "In all of my films, what I try to do, in an almost Hitchcockian sense, is use the camera and use the storytelling so that you become that character, and you empathize with that point of view. There's a chance to do an almost noir-driven detective version of Batman that is point of view driven in a very, very powerful way that will hopefully connect you to what's going on inside his head and inside of his heart." And here to chat about it with me are two people that are very much inside my head and my heart and my ability to pronounce things, Adam Hlavik and Roth Cornett. Hey guys. Get out of my head! So, noir angle for Batman, what do we think?
Yay. You know what I hear in that I like? Detecting. You know what we haven't seen a lot of from Batman in movies? Detecting.
Yeah.
It's the world's greatest detective.
Yeah.
I'm super excited by the idea that that will happen in this movie.
I feel like, you know, the most that we've gotten that sort of a Batman is in the video games. And to me, when he says these things about the Batman movie, it's like, okay, cool. You're going to do what the video games have been doing for like 5 years already.
Sure.
But translate that into a movie where the audience can collectively be a part of that and to witness this character actually be the world's greatest detective and not just like be in the shadows and kick the crap out of people, like seeing him actually solve mysteries, which I love. So
are there any Batman films or, you know, even comic book stories, hell, that you guys sort of feel have really kind of gotten the closest to that sort of noir detective approach?
I think it's tricky because particularly in this the most recent iterations, I think you're right, Adam. Like it sort of has become synonymous more with ass kicking and kind of
growling,
which is great. But that's not all of him.
That's not the whole thing. And I think the idea of the ability to solve any problem is there. That's sort of present.
Sure.
But the ability to really like detect and figure things out, I haven't seen that fully play out.
Yeah, I feel like Michael Keaton's Batman researched, but didn't quite detect.
Right.
But I think you're right. That's the closest.
Yeah, but to be fair to Michael Keaton's Batman, there was no Google, so that was at least a microfiche session that was very intense. And then Christopher Nolan's Christian Bale Batman.
In The Dark Knight, I feel like the most.
In The Dark Knight.
Yeah, he scraped those bullets and rebuilt a bullet. But I'd like to see some more.
I would say the animated series, because the animated series had so much time to kind of develop who Batman was and what he did. And that's obviously, you know, that's kind of like the games are the extension of that. And I feel like that's where we really get to see him being a detective. He's in the crime lab figuring out what do all these things do? What does this lead to? Who is it connected to? I think that's where we see him really being a detective. So I would like to see more of that. And I think we got little bits of it in Batman versus Superman, but because it's not a Batman movie, a Batman solo movie, we didn't get to fully explore that. I think now that it is just a Batman movie, there's no side characters, there's no Robin, no Nightwing, as far as we know, we can really focus on that.
Yeah, I think that it's always like you were saying before, by the way, in case you saw me leaning into a shot, I was lurking in the shadows.
I liked it.
Unwell and unsettily, and I apologize to these gentlemen and our viewing audience.
I saw what you were doing.
I
was intimidated into silence.
Thank you.
So, you know, I don't know if we're jumping the gun completely when we hear Hitchcock and we're like full on noir, but do you guys think like a film noir setting fits the aesthetic of the DCEU?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I think now you hear that and you're just sort of think sort of the tones and the lights and the use of light and shadow and things like that. But I think the film noir structurally isn't just that, right? And
it's
so
dames too.
You also got dames, you know?
I went to film school.
And mobsters and crime and criminals. I feel like more it's the idea of that there is a mystery unfolding and that the film is putting you in the perspective of Batman, who, so as it's unfolding, you're sort of discovering with him. That's what I see, that he's putting that together. that that's what he means. And I think that could be very, very cool that you're sort of like, because a lot of times in movies, you have more information than the protagonist. And it's more interesting if you're discovering with the protagonist.
I really like that you said
to have
that.
more information sometimes.
Sure, but I really like that you said that, because some of my favorite Batman stories are the ones where there's this sense of urgency because he doesn't really know what's going on yet, and you as a reader might be like a step ahead, or just like Hush, for instance, is one that pops to mind for me. Adam, is where Batman, as butt kicking and as rich and as all the toys as he's got, there's something a step ahead of him. He's got to crack this puzzle. Yeah,
well, plus I think the thing that makes Batman so unique from all the other heroes is he's kind of the odd man out in the DC universe. He's the one who is completely 100% human. He has no powers, no abilities. He relies on his intellect, his skill, and his brute force and his money. Exactly. So I think you totally 100% can do a very noir detective story. Like Seven is one of my favorite movies. And to me, that is very much a movie where you're kind of on the journey with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman trying to figure out what is happening. So if they took that sort of an approach, and I think Matt Reeves could totally do it because I feel like he really understands the character just based on what he's done with the Apes movies, I think that's you totally can and should do that. I don't want all the movies to look and feel the same. Yeah, the other thing too, adding on to that, is that because this is a character that, though he is human, is well, I wasn't going with crazy, but okay. I was going with like an extraordinary human, right? That has gone beyond the thresholds that most would ever, And certainly he has the means, but it's also just his nature and his personality. And he is so highly capable that the idea of putting him in a situation where truly he almost feels out of his depth for the bulk of the movie would be a great way to see Batman right now, you know, particularly with one who is so like big and intimidating, and he has all these tools at his disposal and he is really smart, and yet something is keeping him back. Yeah, and I would argue that, even with Bane in Dark Knight Rises and even against Superman in BVS, we still haven't quite seen Batman out of his depth. Out of his depth, totally, where you maybe wonder, I mean, that at the end of the day, he's going to figure it out, but that as you're taking that journey with him, and I love Matt Reeves as a director, and I do think he can do this, and he can create that sense of tension. That would be an awesome Batman movie. That would be great. Adam, you brought up the Apes movies. I don't know if it's just because he's being asked to talk about Batman a lot on his Apes tour, but Matt Reeves has been comparing Batman to Caesar a lot. We have a great quote. I see a parallel emotionally between Caesar and Batman in that they're both tortured and trying to sort of grapple within themselves to find the way to do the right thing in a very imperfect and to some degree corrupt world. It's really that emotionality that I'm interested in. Do you guys dig that comparison with Batman and Caesar? With Caesar, I dig any comparison. Caesar's so great. Caesar's such a great character, right? It's like these are both such great characters, but I think it's a compliment to both of them. And I also do think, to be fair, like he is being put in that position to go like, is this thing like the other, with someone that's probably just trying to figure out the best way to get him to talk about Batman. Let's be honest. He's like, I've barely written anything, but sure. What other planets of animals would you like to make movies about, Matt Reeves? What's the question that opens the door to Batman? Yes. So that's what that. It's always, are you Snoke? Yeah, it's always, are you Snoke opens the door back. But having said that, they are similar in that sense, particularly in this last film. In War for the Planet of the Apes, Caesar is very much struggling that way in this film. Well, guys, any final thoughts? Thanks for hanging out and talking Bats with me. I'm just excited that Matt Reeves is doing this movie. I think they got the best director to make this, and I can't wait to see a really full-on detective noir story. You want to go see it with me, babies? We're going to hold hands. You know it. Rob, get in there. Why do you hold hands like that? Guys, we want to know. What do you think about Batman Noir? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Click around this region for more Screen Junkies news. Don't forget to click that subscribe button down below and to hit that little bell so you receive immediate notifications of all the latest breaking news. We'll see you next time. Be nice to each other.